Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Mindset. And today's episode, I will finally start to be doing a deep dive on dysnomia. So, a lot more information has been coming out. Dysnomia is, I'm going to say dysnomia is the mother and Atropa is the father. So, we have the father and we have the mother. So, ironically, well, not ironically, actually, the chat log for dysnomia is called the void. And I'm in the place in a meditation center in South Korea at the moment where the whole purpose of the meditation method is to become one with the universe. So we keep throwing ourselves into that void. So for me, it's like, wow, we're talking about the void. We've got this whole yin and yang dynamic playing out. And really, this meditation method is just totally and utterly profound. Just very quickly on that, I'm so spoiled here. It's amazing. How dope is this jacket? Somebody gave me this jacket. There's like a personal trainer here who used to train like really professional Olympic uh, competitors, and basically he was concerned about the fact that I didn't really have any autumn clothes, and he gifted this to me along with some pants. So everyone here is just spoiling me. There's so much gratitude here. There's so much giving. There's so much love. The method is absolutely phenomenal. One interesting thing that I really learned about enlightenment is the images in the mind when they're scanned in neuroscience. They did some experiments, and basically they're just pixels. So what we see in our mind. So basically humans are living inside of this picture world, and everything that we think that we see is based on this hallucination that's going on in this mind. So this is the picture world. So everything in the mind is just a picture, and those pictures are just pixels. And so they measured what actually leads to enlightenment. And enlightenment is when those pixels, those images in the mind disappear, and then a hormone is released, giving a sensation of bliss, a sensation of nirvana. And so the old way of attaining enlightenment was becoming the nothingness. This was the Buddhist way, becoming that nothingness. But now the new way of becoming enlightened in this age is to become the nothingness, but also enlightened to the true self, and enlightened to the fact that you are living in heaven, nirvana, bliss. So we achieve that now while we're alive. So many amazing things have been happening here. So I just wanted to share that because, I mean, yeah, if anyone ever wants to know about meditation, yeah, you reach out to me because that's really what I'm all about. I'm not necessarily about meditation as such. I'm about becoming the truth. That's what I'm all about. The meditation is really just a means to an end. So what I'll be talking about today is the relationship between atropa and dysnomia, what we know so far about dysnomia. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about affection and its role in dysnomia, the LAU tokens and the token factory. I have done a video on that. I'm also going to be talking about the chat log, so the void chat log, the different functions so far with the different kinds of tokens that are being discussed for the game, and what I believe to be the alpha. And I want to make it very clear, a lot of this, or basically I would say 90% of this is basically not Helios and mindfulness. 90% is not, yeah, both of these guys are just absolute gems of the community. Mindfulness summarizes everything in the chat logs and puts it into these awesome summaries. So basically what I'll be doing over the next few weeks, the next few months, is basically taking those summaries and repackaging them in a way that I can understand and hopefully other people can understand by communicating it to you guys. So a lot of it could just be word for word. Some of it is a little bit restructured. Plus, it's got my opinions and a little bit of my 2 cents in there. So with that, let us actually get into the share screen. So let's get started. So this is the dysnomia deep dive. So dysnomia deep dive. So this is going to be part of a series of trying to understand what dysnomia is all about. So atropa to dysnomia. So the relationship between atropa to dysnomia. This was something that even before this kind of information was coming out, I had this, I suppose you could say, this intuition that I felt that dysnomia was really the yin to the yang that was atropa. So what does dysnomia actually mean? So dysnomia impairs an individual's ability to recall words, names, or objects. So it's about losing memory, forgetting, forgetfulness. So it's really interesting how this is something that I've been really thinking about a lot with the Atropa ecosystem and the whole movement of artificial intelligence and how neural networks actually work. So in Greek mythology, they're actually opposing. So Atropa, Crypto Chala, Maddie, Crypto Chala was talking about Maria saying that Atropa was actually Atropos. And Atropos is one of three fates that's unalterable and inflexible. So if you really think about this unalterable and inflexible, it's like destiny. It's predetermined. It's fixed. And then you have Dysnomia in Greek mythology, which is the goddess of lawlessness, bad government, and anarchy. So they're really you have something that's predetermined, fixed, unalterable. It's a fate, and then you have anarchy, bad government, lawlessness. So you have the yang, you have the yin, and it's perfect here because we've got mother on this side, which is Dysnomia. We've got father on this side, which is Atropos. So Atropos and Atropa is all about the logic. And so for me, it's all about this order to chaos. So the order is the Atropa and the chaos is the Dysnomia. So for example, thinking about targets. So when Maria would often say things are on target, when he was discussing these things in the Chatlog, and the Atropa ecosystem really has this sense of destiny and predetermined. It really feels predetermined in the sense of it's hooked onto Pt I, and the whole goal is Pt I to $1. And the Atropa ecosystem moves up with it. All of the tokens move up with it. They're liquidity bonded, and it has a very fixed kind of logical flow. And then you have the chaos, which is the Dysnomia now, which is going to be all these Chatlog tokens. You've got things being created like random number generators, which Maria believes is the very first random number generator in existence. So this is something that's also very exciting, because if it does get proven to be a true random number generator, this is also a really big calling out card to the whole Atropa, Dysnomia, pulse chain ecosystem that we have some absolutely quality devs. So for me, I'm seeing chaos, and I'm also seeing with the chat logs, the dynamic of how people actually interact with their liquidity providing and how they actually chat and how they actually connect with the different kinds of tokens. It's not being dictated by Maria. Maria was really dictating everything with Atropa. Everything was kind of fixed on target. Everything was like planned and predetermined, or it definitely seemed that way. Whereas Dysnomia now introduces the element of randomness, and the randomness comes from the people as well. So the people who are actually creating the tokens with the LAU tokens. So this is going to create an interesting dynamic between what's going to happen between Atropa and Dysnomia in bull markets, in bear markets. Could it end up being something where we have our own bull and bear markets that exist between Atropa and Dysnomia? That would be the ultimate goal, to become completely detached from the cryptocurrency market cycles in general and have our own market cycles. That would be ultimate alpha. So we also have a system here that is more representative of nature. And so why is it more representative of nature? Because nature is not something that's just purely fixed. Nature does have the elements of randomness. It's anything that resembles nature, and the closer that it resembles nature works. And this is something that I'm really, really excited about. So again, we've got this yin and yang, order, chaos, Atropos, Dysnomia gods, and Newtonian physics and quantum mechanics. So it's almost like the Atropa ecosystem follows this Newtonian physics, which is everything is predetermined, everything is like destined, and then you have quantum mechanics, which is random. There's still no union between quantum mechanics and Newtonian physics. So this is something that's really I know that I haven't actually looked into it just yet, but I know that servicing was basically talking about dysnomia from the perspective of quantum mechanics. So, I mean, if these kinds of elements can be introduced into an economic system, again, anything that more closely resembles nature, as we progress through society, as we progress through history and advance our consciousness and our understanding of reality, the way that we structure reality changes with our consciousness and our understanding of it. So at the moment, quantum mechanics and Newtonian physics and quantum mechanics, there's this disconnect between them. But in any case, they are at the cutting edge. And so even Newtonian physics have driven the principles that drive the current economic system. Whereas at the moment, there isn't anything to do with quantum mechanics. And the reason why, for me, this is very interesting, I'm just going to go to the big screen here. The reason why for me this is very interesting is because, in my opinion, we're already seeing the interplay of this quantum mechanics. So if you're really into quantum mechanics, if you're into the spiritual aspect of quantum mechanics, which I myself very much am, what the bleep do we know down the rabbit hole, Joe Dispenza, talking about Carl Jung, talking about synchronicities, talking about this unified field, this consciousness. If you're really into that, for me, the fact that there's been so many synchronicities with everything that's happening with Atropa and Dysnomia, it's really hearkening this new age of an economic system that does incorporate elements of this quantum mechanics. So the fact that there are so many synchronicities that I can't deny. There was another one today with Ben Popfin. I'm just like, man, whenever I'm getting so many synchronicities, it's just become normalized. It used to be such a special thing, but it's really like a day-to-day thing now, because as my consciousness aligns more with the consciousness of the universe, as this self disappears, as these pictures disappear, the enlightenment, this oneness, becomes one with the entire universe, and that universe is God. So that universe, everything in existence is just that God. So the synchronicities are profound, and one of the first ones was the affection. So the affection, when I didn't even know that it was the gateway into dysnomia, and I just said, this is how you look for a 10,000x. Pay no attention to this particular coin. I've just chosen this because it's the newest one, and here we go. This could be the next 10,000x. And everything that I'm learning about affection and how this whole system with dysnomia is working, it actually really genuinely could be a 10,000x. I'm not saying it's going to happen within this cycle, but it certainly could happen as the supply gets limited and burnt over time. And this is something that could take a few cycles. I really don't know, but yeah, man, the synchronicities are just profound with this whole Atropa ecosystem, how I found it, how I've learned about it, everything about it. So, okay, back into it. So what do we know so far? So basically what we know so far is that it's a game. It's some kind of a game, and affection is like the arcade ticket. So there was an interview with Maddie, Crypto Charla. I'll see if I can link that up here. Maddie, Crypto Charla, and Maria. They were sitting on a couch. They were talking about affection, and Maria was basically describing affection as like arcade tickets. So when you go to an arcade, you'll put your money in, and then you get these tickets, and then you use the tickets to spend in the games. And then once you spend it in the game, the ticket disappears. So it's burnt. So this is what the whole affection dynamic is all. This is what the whole dynamic with affection is all about. So Maria, we also know, was a professor for 3 years of the top metaverse university in the world. So this is something that he mentioned in the chat log before. And in my opinion, because the metaverse is very stagnant at the moment, or the concepts around the metaverse are very stagnant at the moment, people think that it was just a hype cycle and a bit of a bubble. But just in my opinion, it's just like artificial intelligence. It's such a massive technology. So even artificial intelligence, I've got a separate YouTube playlist. You can check out the history of artificial intelligence here. But basically, artificial intelligence is not something that's just all of a sudden come on the scene. We've been looking into this for decades and decades and decades, and we've had like periods of big creative bursts, and then just winters, and nothing happened for years and years and years. Then big creative bursts, then nothing. Then all of a sudden, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. And now, I mean, really, in my opinion, artificial intelligence is really going to show the most profound thing that one of the most profound things that it's going to do is revolutionize the world. It's going to make everything a lot easier, but also it's going to show us just how robotic the human mind is, and how we think. We actually think that we're in control of our mind, we're in control of our life, but we actually really are not. And artificial intelligence is going to reveal this to us, in my opinion. So metaverse is something that's been around for a long time. It's been spoken about for a long time. Richard Hart has even criticized it, I believe. But in my opinion, it is going to be basically the next big thing. It's going to be what it's all going to be all about. Metaverse is going to be the culmination of cryptocurrency. And even with this system that I'm seeing now, this is really what it's all about. Raoul Pal talks about these types of things. We're going to see artificial intelligence. We're just going to see a whole new world a whole new digital world. So it's very, very exciting. We also have the Chatlog tokens, the LAU factory, and the current UI. So Not Helios, Bay 2.0 has created the new Chatlog. And this is actually a really beautiful user interface. Very simple, very easy to use. I strongly recommend you check that out. And I'll probably leave all the links to those types of resources in the description below. There seems to be also an effort to educate people on crypto and coding through this process. So it's not something that, even the LAU factory, the way that it's set up, it almost encourages people to want to start to learn how to code. It's such a simple, beautiful interface with smart contract GUI. And smart contract GUI, if you've never used it before, you've never done coding, it's like, oh, it can be overwhelming. But then you look at the simplicity of how this is and how Maria's actually set it up. So there's almost like he wants people to interact with the blockchain in a coding kind of way, interacting with crypto and coding. So there's this effort, in my opinion, that seems to be to educate people on coding. So it's something that I've delved into, something that I would definitely look at. This is something that I'll be looking at in the future, but there's different kinds of LP strategies. So I'll probably be also recording that video straight after this because I do have a little block of time at the minute. But somebody mentioned in the affection that surfacing in the affection chat that surfacing had a really good LP strategy. So I have actually looked at his and I'll go through that in that particular video. But basically, the LP strategy that you can come up with and create for dysnomia is also something that's going to be really interesting. I was also talking to Sunny today in Sunny's pub, and he's really experimenting now with what he's going to be doing with his token supply for his Chatlog token. So it's really beautiful if people can really experiment and create and just see what actually happens. We've seen the beauty of liquidity bonding with the Atropa ecosystem. Now, how's that going to play out in dysnomia? And are people going to come up with different kinds of ideas, liquidity providing, burning supply, all of these kind of really interesting dynamics that have come together in Pulse Chain in a really profound way. And so my speculation for this is just my speculation. This somehow is related to consciousness and artificial intelligence. That's my speculation. Something in me tells me that somehow the chat logs are going to be used to train some kind of artificial intelligence. And we have all these nodes. We have all these nodes, which is representative of a neural network. And so this is really just something that also Rig Services was talking about as well, and talking about hex being the number of T shares was related to like the neurons in a brain. So it's like there's all these crazy things that are happening, which in my opinion, no one's ever done this before. And I wouldn't be surprised if Maria's like already ahead of the game and just pooling data and basically getting all this data from how people are interacting with the liquidity pools, how people are trading with the liquidity pools, how people are interacting with the chat logs. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if somehow all of this and then plus dysnomia now is being used to train some kind of consciousness and artificial intelligence, which can end up being something that is like a DAO, like a true DAO, like an artificial intelligence DAO that basically keeps and stabilizes. It's an intelligence that's built over the top of an economy that ends up stabilizing that economy in a way that is going to that's going to make the old economic system, it's going to be superseded by something like this, where there actually is artificial intelligence that it's not just humans trying to fix it. There's artificial intelligence that already knows how to fix things based on all the data that's there. We're trying to fix this out on the fly, but we keep messing it up. And at the moment with the current economic system, we're basically patching up a sinking ship with band-aids. It's not going to work. We all know in our hearts that it is going to collapse. And this also means that Pulse Chain is going to be very, very dangerous. Hex again has been Windows has basically gatekeeping the Hex exe file as well. So we all know that it's going to collapse. And so what's going to be the solution? I'm not saying that Pulse Chain is going to be the solution, but I think Pulse Chain is going to lead the way into what this new financial system is going to be, particularly now that we're starting to explore metaverse. So affection, what do we know about affection? So affection is the gateway into the dysnomia ecosystem. Like I mentioned before, it has a fixed supply of 1 billion tokens, all of which fixed supply of 1 billion, all of us, that's meant to be that's meant to be on the next line. So I've also seen the number thrown around 1,111,111,111 fixed supply. So maybe similar to Atropa, which was 1 million. Was it 1 million or was Atropa also the same? I'm pretty sure Atropa was the same supply. Is it in the billions or the millions? I forget. I really should know these things, but yeah, I've been really detached from crypto. It's been so pleasant, I have to say. So what we're speculating is that all of the so assuming 200,000 tokens per users and 1 billion total supply. We're looking at 4,000 users before all the affection is spent. So this is some of the math that mindfulness has come up with. And so the 200,000 tokens per user and the 1 billion total supply equals 4,000 users. And the 4,000 users is going to be the Chatlog users, the Dysnomia users. So if you really think about where we are now, if you have a Chatlog token, if you don't, I strongly recommend just dabbling your toes. Get in early. We don't know what's actually happening here, but imagine if you found Atropa a year ago and you just watched it and you were like, yeah, I'm not going to get into it. And you were like me and you waited and waited and waited. And then you ended up buying like close to that particular local top, and then you started buying on the way down. Imagine if you got in at the ground floor, which is where we are with affection, which is where we are with dysnomia. So even if you don't fully understand it, I would strongly encourage you to actually just get involved. Just get a Chatlog token, start participating, and really just see what it's all about. Just start learning now, because you don't want to get left behind. So as people trade their tokens with affection, it becomes increasingly rare. So the number obviously is going to go up. So the tokens that we're talking about is ones that Maria is creating for dysnomia, but also our Chatlog tokens. And so as this happens, it's going to become rarer. So the number is going to go up. So this is how we can see that 10,000x. And as I also mentioned before, the supply is continuously burnt. So this is also going to drive the value up. So if affection starts to get too expensive, new users can look at other ways of getting into the ecosystem through these other tokens, and early holders within the Atropa ecosystem will be rewarded. So this is something that mindfulness was talking about, that Maria was actually mentioning in the chat log. So basically, early holders within the Atropa ecosystem will be rewarded in the sense that people are going to have to start looking at other avenues into affection, and they're probably going to be looking at some of the other tokens within the Atropa ecosystem that are liquidity connected in with affection. Okay, so the LAU token, so the tokens for the chat log. So I have done a video tutorial for this. I would strongly recommend checking this out. What I'm going to do just very quickly, I'm just going to pause this. Okay, let's get back into it. Just wanted to shift that out of the way in case it was a little bit in the way on the screen. So the video tutorial. So in that video tutorial, I also talk about the self-snipe bot. And this is very important to set up that self-snipe bot. So then you can start minting the tokens into your wallet as you're chatting. If you don't do this, then somebody else can get the tokens and snipe those tokens. So basically, the tokens, I'm a little bit unclear on this. So set up burned LPs. So this was Maria's, I think this was Maria's hope, was that people would set up burned LPs one-to-one with affection, especially while prices are low, and then redeem with the minted supply just by chatting. A lot of it will revolve around the chat log as the game. So what does this mean? I'm a bit well, the reason why I'm a bit confused by this is because the LAU tokens has a random element. So for example, when I first created the tokens, I think I had either in the 20s or 30s or thereabouts token supply. For example, somebody else would have had a token supply in the thousands. Somebody else might have had it in the hundreds. So to set up liquidity one-to-one with affection doesn't really make a lot of sense, because each token amount would have like a different kind of value. I mean, it depends how you set up the liquidity, but yeah, it's something that I still haven't explored the liquidity for my own token. I was first going to start looking at other people's tokens and having a look at the values with theirs, and then I was going to have a look at mine. So one thing that I did see was that Sunny actually paired some of his tokens with mine. So he paired 24 of his tokens with like point something of my tokens. So shout out to you, Sunny. So I don't know if that basically creates the price for my tokens, but I was under the impression that the price would be created once I pair it with Pulse Chain. So this is going to be something where I'm going to have to look at. I would also recommend that you look at for yourself. If somebody else has already plugged your tokens into their ecosystem, then you should and there's no prices, which I'll end up figuring out, then you should definitely look at how you're going to be doing this with your particular tokens. If you end up creating a price when you bond it with Pulse Chain that ends up like screwing up the other liquidity pools, the arbitrage bots are going to arbitrage that, and you could end up losing quite a lot of your supply. So definitely keep that in mind. So but in any case, what Maria wants is this is going to be like an Atropa setup. So basically bonding your token with affection. As you bond it with affection, you burn the supply. So I'll try and do this. So as you bond it with affection, so here's coexistent Stephen, here's affection bonded, and then we're going to burn the supply. And then what actually happens is coexistent Stephen keeps talking. I've got a lot to say. So keeps talking, keeps minting supply, minting supply, minting supply. And I could mint, I don't know if there's a cap on the minting, but I could keep minting, keep minting. So now all of a sudden, let's say at the moment I've got around about 100 tokens. So let's say I put all those 100 tokens with affection and burn the supply. So I throw those 100 tokens away essentially. I end up creating another 100 messages. So I have another 100 tokens. So in here is 100, and then I've now got 100 new tokens in my wallet. I can buy back the supply. I can buy back the affection with that token supply. So this is the alpha. You can put your affection in there and you can buy back the affection. So yeah, putting the affection, this is really what's going to, I mean, it's a very interesting ecosystem. It's something where, I mean, it's very dynamic. It has all these different pieces and parts. It's a system again. Like Maria does things in systems. Maria is a system thinker, not a linear thinker, not someone that, okay, the coin is going to go up, then it's going to go down when people just extract value out of it. This is a whole system. This is a web. Now there's this whole new system that's being created with Dysnomia, with the LAU tokens, with the Chatlog tokens. So definitely start paying attention to these things because it's only going to get more and more interesting as you learn. And this will, in my opinion, be the future of cryptocurrency. I've said this many times. There's going to be a pre-cryptocurrency before liquidity webs, and there's going to be a post-cryptocurrency before liquidity webs. It's going to be as revolutionary as Ethereum was to Bitcoin. Okay, so deploying, as you deploy your LAU contract, you will get your token, plus you get Sol, plus you get Aura, plus you get Rod, plus you get Cone, plus you get Shio. So you'll get 5 different tokens in your wallet address. So I'll cover the different functions of those in just a little bit. And basically, people can also come along and buy your token. So this is the thing. If people like, people can buy your tokens. If they like what you're about, they can buy your tokens as well. So this is something that's very, very interesting. So yeah, the sooner that you can set up your liquidity pools, the better. The only reason why I haven't is I've been focusing on the schedule here, which was very, very limited breaks. It's just that at the moment I'm doing a 2-day fast. And so for the breakfast, lunch, and dinner breaks, I basically at the end of the night, which ends at 10, but sometimes I'll continue to meditate. I've been doing the bit like, half an hour to an hour of research and putting it all together. And now I've like got these chunks of time where I'm like finishing up the research and now recording some videos. So, okay. So your token is like your KYC to your wallet. So Maria has mentioned that there's plans to add your bio, your phone, your user profile, things like this. And what I find very interesting about this is Maria has spoken very fondly of Core and the Core chat. And this is also something that, or CAW chat. This is a project that was done on Ethereum, but it didn't end up getting completed. And what it maybe means is that it will become like a Twitter-like interface in the future, which is a brilliant idea for metaverse and for democratizing payment. So what do I love about this? So now at the moment, for YouTube. So I get paid very, very small amounts. I'll get paid on viewers who get the ads, for example. Now, if people comment, I get nothing for that. If people like, I get nothing for that. If I comment and like, I get nothing for that. But even Raoul Pal has discussed this idea of a metaverse where everything is basically connected to an economy. So as you comment, you're going to get rewarded for that. As you like, you're going to get rewarded for that. As you interact with something, you're going to get rewarded for that. As you watch something, you're going to get rewarded for that. So you become your value is 100% determined by your time and your input. So it isn't going through a centralized party, which is YouTube, for example. It's going through the metaverse, which is completely democratized, where everybody becomes the owner. And that's something that is a very, 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 very cool idea. So at the moment, we've got the early stages of this with the chat log. I'm really trying to I'm really trying to basically hold in my excitement, but we've got the very early stages of the chat log where just by communicating with the chat log and interacting, you're getting a token supply. So what is this going to look like in the future where we're going to have some kind of Twitter-like interface where you can like and comment on other people's comments. At the moment, the chat log is very basic, but I might be able to like a comment on there. And then as I like that comment, I'm spending one of my tokens and then they're getting one of their tokens and it goes into the liquidity pool. So this is how people can make money. This is how basically we create this whole new economic system on the metaverse. To the best of my knowledge, this is not happening anywhere else on the planet. It's only happening right here, right now on Pulse Chain. Only. And we have the early mover advantage in that sense because we're the very first, to the best of my knowledge. If we continue this, and I mean, how good is Maria? You've got this really humble, beautiful, well-natured man who is, yeah, I mean, to me, it seems very much like fate, like destiny, that we are going to win. It really, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what win means. Win means maybe we get suppressed for the next 10 years. And then after 10 years, we end up coming out on top. That might be win. Win might be we just explode in price action this particular bull market. It might be the next bull market we explode. It might be that not we, but what Maria's created is going to revolutionize the financial industry. We know that the Atropa ecosystem was set up like having all the instruments of a financial ecosystem, but it's a decentralized financial system. It's not just arbitrarily called DeFi. It actually is a truly decentralized financial system. So there's so much to be excited about, in my opinion, when it comes to all of this. So let's have a look at what some of these functions are. So you've got Rod, Cone, LAU 420, and Shio. So the Rod is for user functions. So there's these three, basically these three tokens which are getting created and put into your wallet address as you create your LAU token. So as soon as you create it, you'll see them appear in your wallet address. You have Cone, which is going to be used for system functions, and you have Shio, which is your chat log token where all chats are logged. So this is going to be your logging. So as you start to look through your own data, I could even very quickly bring up, let's have a look if I've actually got it up here. So it's very super. Let's let's have a looks. Just so you guys can actually see what this actually means. So lovely, I do actually have it here. So here we go. Coexistent Stephen. Oops. So we got 8 holders. Oh, I've just made the 100. All right, so that's obviously my donation wallet address. So I've created it from there. Other people have bought some supply. But one of the, oh no, yeah, then I'm basically going to have to go to my my wallet address that's created it. So how many? Oh, I've got a lot of tokens in here. Over 50. So here you go. Chatlog Shio. We've got coexistent Stephen CO. We've got the Rod, and we've got the coexistent Stephen. So there's those tokens that have been created. So as you can see, very, very cool. So that happens as you create your LAU token factory. So again, check out that video to figure out how to do it for yourself. And so the whole point of these tokens is they're going to be utilized to interact with the system. So some of them you're not even going to have to interact with. And some of them you will be using to interact with the system in combat. So when you're using magic, for example, in combat, you might use your Rod without you actually having to interact with the blockchain yourself. So as you battle people and NPCs get introduced, you'll cast spells or something of this nature, and it's going to be using your Rod tokens without you actually having to interact with the blockchain, which is something that's very cool because at the moment, when you type in the chat log and then you have to each time approve it. It's a real pain in the ass. So you don't want to be doing that all the time. So somehow if this can be done in the background on some kind of hidden layer, maybe this is what Maria was talking about with layer 2 hidden layer. So, okay, the chat log. So the chat client at the moment is very beautiful, not Helios, Bay 2.0. So Maria's a faggot, called me a faggot for calling him Bay. So he's not down with Bay. He's not down with Bay. So not Helios is Bay 2.0 because we don't know what not Helios looks like. I'm going to go on the assumption that he's a hot Korean woman. But at the moment, obviously, like I mentioned, it's slow because it's using the blockchain, and blockchains are slow. So it's a really beautiful, simple interface. He's done a really good job on that. And if it speeds up, LPs could rise a lot faster than affection is minted. So in other words, if the chat log, you interacting with the chat log, and the speed at which you can communicate with the chat log, if it's seamless, like you're just talking on Messenger or something, then I mean, you could just get someone that spams. I mean, I think I've seen somebody there that's called Spamtron or something like this, who has been spamming a lot. So yeah, you can really start to mint out a lot of supply. So, and that will make it rise faster than affection is minted out. So this is going to mean the LP is going to rise faster. So people can buy your tokens if they like your input to the chat or your cause. So for example, Ter, he's got some kind of Arabic name. Actually, I'm gonna do actually, I'm gonna quickly show that right now. Let's have a look at this, because this, I was very happy with this. This is really, really cool. Stop at 369. All right, here we go. We don't know what this dude's talking about. And awesome mindfulness, all I can choose as well. That's three enough. 369, stop it. Okay, well, yeah, you stop it. So here, so this is Ter. So he launched this to help build shelters for displaced families affected by the war in Lebanon. So we know, for example, Sunny as well wants to plant trees with the money that he gains from the Atropa ecosystem. Well, not just the Atropa ecosystem, but from A1A more specifically, rather. So, oh, that's cool. So as you hover over it, shows people's contract address, or that. No, I don't think so, because it's got a dash in the middle. So anyway, that's I mean, look how beautiful it is. It's very, very clean. So hi, I am showing this whilst recording a video. Lol. Make sure that it's all spelled properly. All right. What's going on here? Recording a video, and then I'll press enter. Selected user. You dog. All right. So I'll select the user. All right. So I'll go to user. We got coexistence or coexist even. Activate. So now it's activated. So now I just have to press center, but I'll press the enter thing there. Don't make a fool out of me. I might even have to, here we go. And then your MetaMask pops up and you have to approve it. And the internet's actually quite slow. So yeah, it's being super slow. So I'm going to stop. Oh, here we go. Confirm. Here we go. And then I'm going to also, you see, you can't reply, but you can you can block. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Block message, block soul, block aura. I wonder if that's the soul and the aura. Cool. Okay. So there we go. So the first number there is my aura, and the second number is the soul. So I'm going to get into the soul and aura in just a moment. So here we go. Now it's popped up in here. And there's also a chat log as well, an actual chat log. So logs dysnomia.icu. Okay. So, and then I'm also going to say, no, you stop it. 369. All right. I won't wait around for that one. So, okay. So now let's go back into the old mate here. So back into, here we go. Excuse me. Oops, press the wrong button. All right. So share screen. Okay. All right. So yeah, you can do that. And as you may or may not know, obviously my goal is to design and build meditation centers with all the money that I have. And the reason why I want to do meditation centers is because this meditation method is taking us to the land of truth, where everybody is one. So it's not just, we're one in a mind, but everybody talks about oneness, but then we fight and argue over what shape the earth is. That's not oneness. That's not oneness. You can even feel your pride coming up as you talk about those things. There isn't even a shred of oneness in that. Even if we're talking about it, there isn't a single shred of oneness from inside of this picture world. So my goal is that these meditation centers will bring about world peace by creating the oneness on the planet, because it's bringing about the land of truth so that people can be reborn in the land of truth and live eternally as a true self. So you'll live forever as the universe. You'll confirm that for yourself just by doing the meditation. So it's really the most important study on the planet, but people haven't quite realized it yet. Okay, so once battles and NPCs come into play along with items, inventory, buildings, etc., it will create an interesting dynamic with a bustling economy that all requires affection. So again, it's I think I'll go into this in a little bit more detail a little bit later, but I'll just mention it very quickly now. So things like Axie Infinity, these first like metaverse tokens and Sandbox, it's a linear economy. Basically, you're putting money into this token. So even there was this game called Big Time, like super cool, but my mind couldn't get past the fact that the economy is linear. So you have this token Big Time, and that's what you have the token in there. And basically, even Illuvium, you'll put your money in there, and then the token goes up, and you're spending the token on things in the game. And so what actually happens is it's a linear economy. So the money just goes in and it gets spent inside the game, inside the economy. And what ends up happening with Axie Infinity, for example, it goes up and up and up, and it gets to such a high value that people end up rugging it. They take all the liquidity that went into it out of the system. Whereas this is a dynamic financial system. So it's fluid. It flows between all these liquidity pools. There's going to be all these different interplays between all the different tokens. So it's going to be just like the financial system as it is now, with the interplay between the US dollar, Australian dollar, Singapore dollar, British pound, the Korean won, like everything. It's like this interplay between different dollars, different asset classes. This is what's being created with Dysnomia. This is actually what's being created with the game. So that's huge. That's the first of its kind in cryptocurrency. That's the very first of its kind. So this is why it's real DeFi. This is why it's true DeFi. Nothing like this exists. So this is very, very exciting to see how it's going to unfold. Is it going to, I mean, in my opinion, it's going to revolutionize the world, the financial system. Is it going to be the end financial system? I'm not saying that. It's just going to be a stepping stone towards. Okay, so the soul and aura, which we just had a look at in the chat log. So these are like your ID numbers. So the soul is essentially your soul identifies your token from within your wallet, and the aura identifies your wallet. So in other words, if you transfer the user token, which is your soul, it will change. If you transfer the user token, so if I transfer coexistent Stephen from my donation wallet to one of my other wallets, it will change the soul within that particular wallet. But the aura identifies the wallet itself. So it'll change the soul within that wallet, but the aura identifies the wallet. So it's just it's like a different hierarchy, you could say. You can have a community of owners also, but someone within the owners can remove any other owners. So this is also really cool. So we could create a community Chatlog token where a bunch of us come together. So for example, me and you guys have heard about Muddy a lot. And Muddy's one of my boys. So we've got the Fibonacci fund. So we could create a Fib fund token where we're all owners of that. But because we're all owners, we can also remove other owners from within it. So it's going to create like an interesting power play dynamic. It's just all these different things that are coming together to make it very interesting. So there's also going to be area tokens. So these aren't currently released, but an area is basically something which will have its own contract. So I'm imagining it to be like a liquidity pool, where a liquidity pool has its own contract. Once you pair two tokens together, it creates a PLP, which is a unique contract address. So these can be purchasable with minted supply to create your own features, with purchases going back on tokens so it can be bought back in a burn system. So the same principle that I was discussing before about coexistence and affection, and then minting your coexistence and then buying back your burnt supply. So this whole idea of burnt supply and buybacks of Chatlog tokens that Maria is really trying to emphasize within this ecosystem. And Maria is also considering adding features using LAU Token. So this is the contract address here. So I will possibly also leave that in the description. So this is something where, remember in some of the older videos, maybe in this Dysnomia chat here, you can have a look at that with a few of the boys, where we were talking about mud maps and how Discworld mud maps. But Maria has also mentioned that it's not going to be anything like this. So he said it's going to be like this, but then also said it's not going to be anything like this. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this actually plays out. Okay, so what's the alpha? What's the alpha on this? So getting affectionate with affection. If you don't have affection, if you aren't familiar with how to mint affection at the moment, even though the gas prices are really good, minting affection is not really working unless you tweak. It's not really working because of the proportions of the affection to PDIs and to PUSDC. And so obviously PDI and PUSDC are like 1-to-1 at the moment, so it's not really working with the minting. But as the ratios shift, it will get profitable to mint, assuming the gas prices stay low. So this is the thing. So I will definitely get familiar with it. You can also buy it, but remembering all the alpha around affection, I think if you haven't familiarized yourself with affection, you really ought to start. The Chatlog tokens, in my opinion, like I mentioned earlier, just start familiarizing yourself with it and start looking at setting up an LP web. So I'm going to be doing another video analyzing some LP webs of a few different key players in the ecosystem. So then I can learn how I can create my own liquidity providing web. So I would recommend doing something like this as well. And just start dipping your toes. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Just try, just experiment. I saw Mindfulness say that he basically butchered the process. You know what? No problem. You've got other wallets. You can create other tokens. If you butcher the process, who really cares? Like, what's the big deal? Like, this is all just free money anyway. It's free internet money. So just have some fun with it. Familiarizing yourself with the logic of burn supply and buybacks. This is something that is very big within the Atropa ecosystem. This is something that Maria did. This is something that has been really revolutionized on Pulse Chain. And so familiarizing yourself with the logic of that so you can understand how to do it with Dysnomia is something that I would strongly recommend. And the other alpha at this particular point in time is going back on the old chat logs to find potential hidden gems. So there's tokens with certain powers. So the 666 tokens, Maria, as they were being released, has mentioned how a lot of these tokens are like, well, not a lot, but basically, this 666 token it's going to have a really strong power in the game. So I would recommend going back and looking at the old chat log, see if you can find some 666 tokens and just start buying up some of that supply. Not something that I've done personally, but yeah, if that's something that you would be very interested in, and really I should do it. But as you all know, the income it's not there because I'm a volunteer. So some that Mindfulness is identified as the LAU token. So this is going to be on the play level use. The Ogen, so this is going to be the in-game currency. So Ogen is the LAU and the Ogen and the Poppy, they all have Korean symbols. And oh my God, I mean, fuck me dead. I just realized this as well. Like, man, yeah, I mean, I'm in Korea, so pardon the French or pardon the Hangul. But yeah, so Poppy is going to be opium farming. And you also have there was Teddy Bear 9, which you could conjure. So this is going to be something that could have an interplay in the game. So really going back on the old chat log and seeing which of these 666 tokens could have a potential use in this game. So all of this together with the dynamics of the chat log, with the dynamic of creating and destroying and making, I'm going to go into more of that in the next episode. But this will establish an in-game economy that's multidimensional, as I mentioned earlier. So I won't go into that spiel again. It's going to create a multidimensional economy that's not linear like Axie Infinity. The big problem with all metaverse tokens is that they go up, they get extracted out, and they go down, and then nobody wants anything to do with it because they know that if they start buying it up, eventually it's going to get to a point where it's just going to get extracted out of. Whereas this, if I can start creating liquidity providing, if I can be a liquidity provider, if I can be a mini bank within this ecosystem in all this liquidity webs, I'm in an economic system that is fluid and dynamic and more representative of nature. It has the elements of order and chaos. It has the elements of Newtonian physics and quantum mechanics. So this is going to be something that, in my opinion, is going to be very, very revolutionary. So start getting familiarized with it. And as I'm learning, I'm also sharing, and that's what this channel is always about. Always, thank you very much. Always coming to you guys as not an expert, really just breaking it down and trying to put it into bite-sized pieces that I can understand, that I can help you guys understand as well, you guys and girls understand as well, because it's very, 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 very fun to me. It's very, very extremely rewarding. I come from a place that wants to give. I really want to give. I don't come from a place where, oh, I want to just take. I want to just take. You buy this token because I have it. I rarely talk about the tokens that I have. And that's what this channel is all about. It's really just all about learning about this unique system. So people come to me quite often like, hey, talk about this token. And for me, a lot of them aren't interesting because what it's just another token that's eventually going to go up and it will probably eventually come down. Like there's nothing interesting about it. This is a system. This is a financial system. This is a decentralized financial system that's being created now on the metaverse. So now Maria's skills are being utilized. And this is something that's very, very exciting. It's like, yeah, how can you not be excited by it? So, okay, with that, very long episode. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but I talked quite a lot. So, my apologies for that. So, from Nonsan, South Korea, take care. Kamsamnida.